Okay, so basically after that, my daughter's dad actually bought a house. Um, not the thing was that his name wasn't actually like on the deed or whatever you call it. I've never owned a house, so I don't know what it's called. But he it was under the name of the woman that he was the married woman that he was having an affair with. She just let him take over the payments. Um, so basically, it was actually very large. It was like six bedrooms or something, and then it was two stories, and um, but the thing was, it was very bare bones. It wasn't in the best shape. Definitely needed to be remodeled. There was absolutely no hot water. Um, and For electricity, we did have one outlet, but like, because we didn't have our own electricity, we used one outlet that our neighbors let us like run a cord from their electricity. But we just had one. Um, and it, um, So basically, I thought, well, we could just move in together as friends or whatever, just so that, like, you know, we would still be there for our daughter, both of us. Um, and so that was when my daughter was 22 to 27. Yeah, 22 to 27 months. Um, so basically, the problem, well, okay, so first of all, it was in Arizona, but it was in a very small mining town that, like, it was it was just kind of a, not the nicest town, kind of run down area. There were a lot of abandoned houses in our neighborhood that were just open. um, and a lot of people there did meth. It's just one of those places where it's like super, super poor. And yeah, a lot of people were on meth. Um, but yeah, we stayed there for a while, and he was I think, still having the relationship with that woman for a while. And so he kind of left me alone sexually. I would just kind of live there, and very rarely, very rarely when I was feeling very desperate, um, we would have sex as friends. Um, and that was when I was really drunk, though. So I don't know. I feel like technically, I don't know if that was really consent. Nowadays, that would not be considered consent, because if you're like totally drunk, you can't really give like enthusiastic consent. But it wasn't like, if I said no, like, I just never got to like, he wasn't acting the way he was before, with just having sex with me when he felt like it, whether I wanted to or not. After we moved in there, things were, and we actually lived with another, I say couple because I think a lot of people still thought of us as a couple, just because like we lived together with our child. But we had a couple come and stay with us, and they had a little baby who was like 8 months old. And so our daughter really did like having a baby in the house, and she would like she would always be so excited to play with him. um yeah, but kind of after a while, um the problem was, one of the reasons it was bad that this was like a small mining town with not much happening is that they had a food bank, very small food bank, but literally it would be like you go once a week and they would give you like 3 cans of vegetables or something else. 3 cans. Usually they were vegetables, but there could be other things. And then they would give you like a bunch of cake. Like, and I've seen this at other food banks too, where they like to load you up with sweets. We got chicken at one point. So it wasn't that bad every week, but most of the time it was. And I would have to try to like make it stretched really far. So, one of the things that I actually started making, because I used to get canned peas a lot, and we had like tortillas, like corn tortillas, and I would like make pea tacos, which my daughter actually really, really liked. I would like fry the corn tortilla to make it into like a shell, like a taco shell, and then put peas on it. And this is how how poor we were. At that point, I literally was like barely eating. What I did eat would be like, I would actually like eat my daughter's scraps from the ground. Like, because of course, if she throws something on the ground, I don't want her to eat it really. But I thought, it's food. And it basically did. And then, of course, no hot water. We did all of our cooking on a camping stove. And I had to we had to boil water on this camping stove, put water, like hot water, in a large Tupperware container, and then add cold water, of course. Sometimes we had stuff for money to go do laundry. Most of the time we didn't. So I would like hand wash most of the stuff from home. And like I said, we didn't have any hot water. I think for laundry, I think I just ended up using cold water. We actually used one of those like old washing tubs, I didn't have the washboard, I don't think. I would just kind of like swish it around in the water. Well, like scrub it, or like not scrub it, but rub it to try to clean it. I didn't have anything else other than my hands. And then of course it was good because we had it was on an acre, but it ended up looking really small because a lot of it was in this like what would you call it, like a ravine or something. Most of it was down there, but we had like enough room to hang a clothesline. Eventually it ended up where I made a friend. She was also a mom, and she actually helped me out. She was like, because like I said, I didn't really know my way around this area. There was actually, there was one point, well, I mean, this was like a very common thing for me to do, was to ask for money for food, because he was a manager of a Safeway. Now, not Safeway, Subway. Now, yeah, that's not rich, but I just thought, there's no food, we're not getting any food, and I would like ask him to bring food. I'd be like, can you bring home food from work, like that you're not going to use? And he would always say, I'm not allowed, or whatever. And so actually what happened at one point, okay, so it was like actually on my daughter's birthday, I think. Well, it was really cold. It actually snowed there because it was high desert, not, Not like the lower elevation desert that gets really hot. It did get hot sometimes there, but it definitely did snow in the winter. And so we didn't have any snow boots. But of course, my daughter wanted to go outside and play. So, like, this probably wasn't the smartest thing looking back because she could have, like, fallen, I guess. But I just, like, basically wrapped her shoes in, like, plastic bags to keep her feet from getting freezing, especially because we didn't have a dryer. You know, obviously, if it's like cold and snowing, we can't really like hang clothes up at that point. Um, and actually, what happened was when, okay, so the storm actually took out the electricity. And so the other dad that was living with us was like, maybe like maybe now the other people in this neighborhood will understand that, look what it feels like to not have electricity when we live with it like every day. And also what was funny was because the power went out, Safeway actually, or not, why do I keep saying Subway actually had to like get rid of their food because it was going to go bad. So my daughter's dad brought home a lot of leftover food, including meat, which we didn't have very much of. And I was thinking, because so back in that day, I wasn't a believer in Jesus, or I always knew there was a higher power. Like, I never doubted that really. Um, but at that time, I was more into like manifestation. I wouldn't say I got like super into it really long term, but I had like written down things that I was like manifesting. And one of them was meat. I think it happened like a few days or a week after I wrote it down. I believe that was God answering my prayers. He saw the list, obviously. Um, really, really answered my prayers. It was crazy. Um, and then so, like I said, I met a friend. She was really nice. She ended up taking me, because I didn't really know where anything was. She ended up taking me to, um, okay, wait. There was one other thing I was going to include. So, basically, um, okay, so with the food, um, like I said, my daughter's dad would always say, he'd be like, "Oh, we don't have enough money for food." And um the other mom that lived there one point took me aside and she was just like, "You know when you asked him for money and he said he didn't for food and he said he didn't have any?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "When he said that, he opened his wallet and I saw so much money in there." And I was like, "Oh, okay, so he doesn't care if we live or die, basically." I mean, maybe that's being a little dramatic, but um and yeah, like with the food bank not giving us much, we would actually eat like like native edibles, um that like weeds basically that we're growing in our backyard. Like, what was the one called? I don't know why I can't think of it. It's like a wild green. um don't know, but also like, yeah, and also like dandelion greens. um yeah, we also used to like, there were actually businesses like pizza places that instead of throwing food away, there's this one place that left like a picnic table in the back, and they would just put their old pizzas on there every night and people just knew to go if they needed it, so we would do that a lot too. But basically what it came down to is I met a friend. She was another mom. She was really nice. She actually took me to the welfare office. I had no idea where. It was actually in the next town. She took me there and I ended up getting food stamps. And even though my daughter's dad had not been willing to buy the food with his money, he um, I was able to go shopping, and he was willing to drive us home with the food. But yeah, I think it just came down to all those things just being way too difficult. It just it just I wanted better. And the thing is, like, the electricity, they were like, he was gonna, my daughter's dad and the other dad that lived there, and then the other mom's father came. They were going to hook up the electricity, and then like they never finished it for some reason. And it just got to be too much, you know. I was also still breastfeeding, and I think that my daughter might have breastfed well, a lot of kids breastfeed. But I just feel like throughout the day maybe she breastfed more than most kids, but like, and so like I was, because I was producing milk, I was getting like skinny or whatever. And yeah, it just, the food stamps definitely helped. But yeah, like still living with only one electrical outlet and like no lights. That's the other thing. Okay, so if we, so we, okay, so the electric outlet that we used, it was usually used for coffee, which is fine with me because I love coffee and I needed it most of the time. Um, Sometimes we wouldn't use it. Sometimes we would like switch it and watch, like my daughter's father would bring home lots of like DVDs and stuff. Um, yeah, it just got to be too much, and it was something. It was the kind of situation where it would take so long to get everything set up, and just the fact that he was also like refusing to buy like food and stuff. He also would bring home. He would go out to eat every day at work, and then he would um he would sometimes fairly often bring home like beer and stuff, but wouldn't bring any food. And so it just got to be a little much.